Okay, let's begin, right? When the
Okay,
others
ma'am.
come, they would also join us. I think we have to continue from 10th paragraph, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Let us just recapitulate a bit of what we people had read till now about Maria Sharapova. Maria Sharapova, a Russian tennis player who hailed from Siberia but settled in Florida, US, because she wanted herself to be placed in the tennis world. She had aspirations to be number one in the tennis world. This dream she thought could be made true if she shifts to US. But Maria had been completely supported by her parents. In the beginning, it was difficult for her because for 2 years she had to be away from her mother, as the mother could not accompany her because she could not get visa. So there was the visa issue. Father had been there. He put the girl into an academy where she was the youngest tennis player, the one who was getting professional training. And father, in the meantime, had been working day and night to meet the expenses for Maria's training, Maria's sports training, because it was quite expensive. So this is what she had to make sacrifices, and she had made it very clear to the young readers what that no pains, no gains. A little sacrifice you have to make, then only you will be successful. And then we had discussed a lot many examples of the players who had made many sacrifices just to reach for the top. Maria had been successful. Maria is number one. She had been number one in Wimbledon tennis, in world tennis. She worked very hard. She was determined. She had faced tough competition. So since she had been living in America for long, now she had adopted American accent. However, she has that American accent in her speech, but she does display her Russian nationality also. Maybe that she has adopted that American accent in her speech, but at heart, she is Russian because she has Russian blood in herself. She said, I'm Russian. It's true that the US is a big part of my life, but she had her roots in Russia, which she cannot forget. She is actually the first. She is a native of Russia. She is born in Russia. She had got Russian citizenship. How can she forget Russia? She is ready to play for Olympics from Russia if Russians want. Apart from that, we had also learnt about her hobbies, that she follows various fashion styles. She's fond of singing and dancing. She also loves reading detective novels. For example, the novel of Arthur Conan Doyle, who had created the famous detective Sherlock Holmes. And she had maintained herself so well. She is so slim that the evening gowns she wears, they befit her. But those who are conscious of their slim appearance, you won't find them eating pancakes and the chocolate spread, but she does. So in this way, she has maintained a very good balance. Maria Sharapova cannot be pigeonholed or categorized. Pigeonholed meaning she cannot be classified. She cannot be categorized as one particular character, because her talent, unwavering desire to succeed, and readiness to sacrifice have lifted her to the top of the world. All of a sudden, all by itself, she had not reached the top of the world. She had not got the success. Like any common person, this was her talent. She had the inborn skills, perhaps, and an unwavering desire. Unwavering is firm, strong desire. And she had a strong desire to succeed, to reach the top. And readiness to sacrifice, that is her willingness to sacrifice these factors, these determinants, these very elements, they have helped her to reach the top of the world. I hope you understand this sentence.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Few would grudge her the riches she is now reaping. What is the riches she is now reaping? Meaning the money she is getting. Tennis is an expensive game, but tennis involves a lot of money. When you play tennis, you are rewarded with a lot of money. Every tournament carries a huge amount of wealth, a huge amount of money. And she had been winning all these tournaments. The more the tournaments she was winning, the more money she was reaping, she was gathering. So the few people, they could be envious of her that she was earning so much. This is what she has to say about her monetary gains from tennis. She knows that she is getting monetary gains. She is earning so much money from tennis. But regarding this, what she had stated, of course, money is a motivation. Tennis is a business and a sport, but the most important thing is to become number one in the world. She says, no doubt it is that tennis is a money game. It is very lucrative. Money is the motivation. Many people fall into this game because the money lures them. You see that recently you must have noticed, you must have observed that cricket is carrying a lot of money. Isn't it?
Yes,
Cricket
ma'am.
is carrying a lot of money. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry in your locality, in your neighborhood, in your school, in your class, in your company of friends, you will find not only boys, even the girls. If you ask them which game they want to play, they would say cricket. Why cricket? Over the night, they want to be cricketer because the parents also know that cricket brings a lot of money. First of all, the tournaments are carrying money. Then later on, so many endorsements you get, so many advertisements you get, so many companies sponsor you. So you are earning the money with hands full of it. So this is what she says. No doubt it is that money is a motivation, that money is lucrative. The game is lucrative because it carries a lot of money. It attracts you. Tennis is a business and a sport. Tennis is a commercial game. It is a sport, it is competitive, but at the same time, it is commercial. Commercial, how commercial? Because money is involved in it. But the most important thing in tennis is that you be number one in the world. The money you will carry, the money you will earn, the money you will fetch through this game if you become number one in the world. You are playing and losing the games, you are not going to earn any money. When you become number one, oh yes, a lot of money is there onto your crown. That's the dream that kept me going. This was the dream she had. Parents had supported, parents had cooperated. It was not simply an emotional support, but of course, financial support also. They had worked day and night to spend money on her professional sports career. So she had the dream to become number one so that she could fetch all the money and she could help her parents. And she knew that this would be possible only if she becomes number one. And she will become number one only if she is motivated, she is determined, she is passionate about the game, and she works hard. So ultimately, this is the end of her biographical story. But ultimately, after reading, after knowing the story of the true players, what we conclude here is anything you go for, anything you do, you need to have great passion, hard work, and determination. Then only you can make your dreams true. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now here is the exercise. Please see this. Yes, this is the table. In this table, you have to give the comparison and contrast of the two people whose character, whose stories we have read. That is Santosh Yadav and Maria Sharapova, right? Their humble beginning. Were their beginning, did they have the same humble beginning or there was a difference?
Ma'am, difference between
Okay.
Santosh Yadav and Maria Sharapova.
Fine. Yes, please elaborate the difference.
Ma'am, because in the starting, Santosh Yadav's parents not agreed to study her, and Maria Sharapova have the support of her parents
Okay.
to the table tennis.
All right. Yes, so far as humble beginning is concerned, let me correct you here, Anmol. Humble beginning meaning Santosh's parents. They were wealthy. They were quite well off. They were affluent landowners. So money was not the problem with them, right? But Maria, in comparison to Santosh, had a humble beginning. How? That you remember how Maria's father, he had to work day and night?
Yes, ma'am.
To make it possible for Maria to get training, right? So this is the difference. Santosh's parents, Santosh belonged to an affluent, wealthy family where money was no problem. But Maria's father had to work very hard to meet the expenses for Maria's training. Clear? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Their parents' approach. Now here you would say, what the point you had given first, here you would state that their parents' approach, Santosh Yadav's parents, they were very traditional, orthodox and conservative. On the contrary, Maria's parents?
They are supportive.
Right, they were supportive. They were very supportive, right? And they themselves had sent Maria to Florida, US for this sport. However, mother had to stay back, yet she sent Maria. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
And Santosh's parents, they were traditional, orthodox. They would not agree, they would not support Santosh for studies and for moving away from the house. But later on, they got convinced, right? Okay. Their willpower and strong desire to succeed. Yes.
And there is no difference between Santosh Yadav and Maria Sharapova because they have the dedication, the passion to do something and reach the top of the world.
Very good. Both of them, they had aspirations, right? They had strong willpower, that is willingness. They had strong desire, that is aspiration or urge. And both of them, they wanted to be successful and they were completely devoted and dedicated to their aim, right? Good, very good. Evidence of their mental toughness. What is an evidence of Santosh's mental toughness? Yes. You have to give evidence.
The family of Santosh Yadav was not agreed at that time to study further, but Santosh did not give up.
Right. Okay. There is an evidence in a paragraph where it says the culmination of her hard work and sincerity came in 1942 when she reached the summit. Right? Fine?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
This is one example. Another example is that her teammates, her seniors, they would admire her for her strong willpower, her physical strength, and her mental toughness. Remember?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And for Maria's mental toughness?
Ma'am, when she went to the training for table tennis in USA, Maria, the elders teammates of her
Good.
hostel
Right.
tease him and
They would bully her.
bully her. Yeah,
Right.
but she don't angry and may cry on her.
Right.
She do the works when the elders say to her.
Right. What does it mean? That she was the youngest in the hostel. Her seniors, they would bully her by ordering her to do one or the other work. She would not allow herself to be depressed, or she would not become depressed, right? Because she would focus on her game only, for which she was very much aware of her purpose, right? So that depicts her mental toughness. Now you see that the one who is mentally strong can only counter this kind of bullying. अगर आपको कोई बार बार छेड़ता जा रहा है, आपको कोई बार बार तंग कर रहा है, आपको कभी गुस्सा आएगा ना, आप कभी इरिटेट भी होंगे, राइट? लेकिन मारिया के केस में ऐसा नहीं था, बिकॉज मारिया हैड एन एम. उसको ये था कि मैं गेम के लिए आई हूँ, व्हाई शुड आई वेस्ट माय एनर्जी इन ऑल दीज थिंग्स? So she would just ignore what they would say. She would focus on her game and she would do whatever they were asking her to do. So that could be possible only because she had been mentally strong, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the next is their patriotism.
Patriotism means?
Patriotism meaning love for the nation.
Okay.
Love for your motherland. Yes.
Maria Sharapova was a Russian girl, but
Right.
she went to the USA for her training. When the Olympics held, they say to the Russian people, if they want to play for the Olympics for Russia, she do that. She won.
Yes, Anmol isko thoda sa correct karenge, okay? Her patriotism is reflected in this very thing, that she learned this game in US. She became famous and successful in US, but she did not forget her roots in Russia, right? Because she had Russian blood in her veins. She was actually a Russian citizen. So this did not diminish her love for Russia. So this shows her patriotic aspect. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
And yes, Santosh Yadav?
I don't know.
Santosh Yadav. Okay, Santosh Yadav, when she unfurled the Indian flag, the tricolor flag on the top of Mount Everest, she said that it was indescribable. She could not believe that very moment. It was such a great moment. She said it was such a great moment that she could not sink in, right? Meaning it was such a great moment that it was difficult for her to believe and accept. And she felt very proud that she was an Indian who had unfurled her flag on the top of the Mount Everest, that is on the top of the world. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Yes. Now here the question also says, complete the table given below with the relevant phrases or sentences. I did not discuss phrases and sentences in particular for you, because this kind of question you do not get in the examination, right? So I encourage my children to express in your own words, because if you get any one of these things to be written, you will have to express in your own words, not exact phrases or sentences from the lesson. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now you just come to the next. This is the language part, grammar part. Here it refers to clauses. However, clauses I will take up separately. I think clauses are there in the syllabus, right? But still in the context of the lesson, you will not get this exercise in the exams. But here it is given, we will discuss. right? Here are given 4 sentences, right? These 4 sentences, they have 2 parts. But these 2 parts have been joined with the help of a clause, right? So there are 2 clauses, 2 parts, and both the parts of the sentences, they have their own subject and verb or a verb phrase, right? So this italicized part, this suggests you if there is a second part of the sentence. This also suggests when or why something happened, right? How it is, let me tell you. I reached the market when most of the shops had closed. Now, if I take it as 2 independent sentences, no? अगर ये clause इसमें ना होता तो ये sentence कैसे होता? I reached the market, most of the shops had closed. Got it? Right? So these are 2 independent sentences.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
reached the market. I is subject, reached is verb.
Verb.
Most of the shops had closed. Most of the shops is subject, had closed is verb. So both of these sentences, they are independent. They have subject and verb, right? Now we combine them as I reached the market when most of the shops had closed. Meaning, when did I reach the market? When most of the shops had closed. So this is how we, now if I say I reached the market, why most of the shops had closed is not correct. Because it is referring to the time I reached the market. When did you go to the market? Most of the shops had closed. When most of the shops had closed. It could also be most of the shops had closed when I reached the market. Is that clear?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it could be that way also. The important thing here it is the time is denoted, right? Now, when Rahul Dravid walked back towards the pavilion, everyone stood up. Now, if we just fragment it into 2 sentences, it would be Rahul Dravid walked back towards the pavilion. Another sentence is everyone stood up. Now, the question is, when did everyone stand up? When Rahul Dravid walked back towards the pavilion. So here the clause is, when Rahul Dravid back towards the pavilion, everyone stood up. Right? In the next, the telephone rang and Ganga picked it up. Telephone rang, and here now it has been combined with a compound clause that is and. Telephone rang, Ganga picked it up. The telephone rang and Ganga picked it up. It can also be so that as the telephone rang, Ganga picked it up. Right? Gunjan has been with us ever since the school began. Gunjan has been with us since the school began. So Gunjan has been with us how long? Ever since the school began. Right? Now
Okay.
here are the sentences. You have to identify the 2 parts in the sentence, in the sentences, and then where other girls wore traditional Indian dresses, Santosh preferred shorts. Now, which are the 2 sentences you find here?
And first is where other girls wore traditional Indian dresses. And second is Santosh preferred shorts.
Right. Now, in the first sentence, Anmol, we will not use where. When we are talking about 2 different sentences, then where will not be used. Where is used when you see after dresses there is comma? Do you find it?
Yes.
Right? So it means we have combined these 2 sentences using where the clause. Is that clear?
Yes.
So when we are talking about 2 parts in the sentence, we would say other girls wore traditional dresses. Santosh preferred shorts. So here, what is it? Contrast. So we are using where, not for the place. but for the contrast. Santosh preferred shorts, whereas other girls wore traditional Indian dresses. It could be this way also. But definitely there is contrast. Okay? Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Now, she left home and got herself enrolled in a school in Delhi. Yes. Give me 2 sentences.
She left home, first sentence,
Right?
and got herself enrolled in a school in Delhi.
Right. Correct. Very correct. She left home, 1 sentence. She got herself enrolled in a school in Delhi is the 2nd sentence. Right? She left home and got herself enrolled in a school in Delhi. What happened after the first action? She left home. Then what happened? And got herself enrolled. Right? Okay. She decided to fight the system when the right moment arrived. Yes, tell me the 2 sentences.
First is she decided to fight the system.
Right.
Second is the right moment arrived.
Correct. Very correct. Now do you understand? Good. Okay. Little Maria had not yet celebrated her 10th birthday when she was packed off to train in the United States.
First sentence is little Maria had not yet celebrated her 10th birthday.
Right.
Second sentence is she was packed off to train in the United States.
Right. Right. So now what you did, you discussed 2 different sentences. You combined them using when, and, where, etc. Is that clear? Now here
Yes,
are the
ma'am.
pairs of sentences. Just as we discussed 2 exercises, here what you have to do, you have now been given 2 pair of sentences. Now you have to combine these. Grandfather told me about the old days. All books were printed on paper then. Yes.
Grandfather told me about the old days when all books were printed on paper.
Right. Were printed on paper and then you put a full stop. Why? You will not be writing then. Why won't you write then?
Because we use when
Right.
instead of then.
Absolutely right. Because you are using the clause, the time clause when. You're using the time clause when. So you wrote when. That's why you are not going to write then. All right? Okay. What do you do after you finish the book? Perhaps you just throw it away. Yes, do it
And
carefully.
what is the meaning of perhaps?
Perhaps meaning maybe, जिसको हम हिंदी में शायद कहते हैं, which is not certain. Yes.
I don't know.
Okay, I will tell you. You would say, do you just throw the books away after you finish, after reading it? Right? Do you just throw the book after reading it? Now, where is the clause after? After reading. After reading the book. Or after you read the book. Do you just throw the book after you read it or after you read the book? Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, come to the next. He gave the little girl an apple. He took the computer apart.
He gave the little girl an apple and he took the computer apart.
Just think of it again. What happened first?
First, he gave the little girl an apple.
Yes. Then he took the computer apart. Okay. So after he gave the little girl an apple, he took the computer apart. Okay. Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Now come to the next. You have nothing that makes you very determined. You have nothing that makes you very determined.
You have nothing,
Right?
and that's make you very determined.
No, you have nothing that makes you very determined. You are just to remove the full stop here. Because otherwise you can say you have nothing which makes you very determined. Which is a noun clause, that is also a noun clause. In place of which you can use that also here. So both are correct. Okay. This is what we will discuss when we have clauses. All right. Still, without that also you're doing very well. Yes, keep it up. I never thought of quitting. I knew what I wanted.
I knew what I wanted, that's why I never thought of quitting.
Okay. Just try to use another clause. Yes. I never thought of quitting as I knew what I wanted. I never thought of quitting since I knew what I wanted. I never thought of quitting because I knew what I wanted. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Okay. Now this is dictation. This is the listening skill. Yes, sometimes I give dictation even to class 11th also. Right? So listening skills when I take up, then of course I'll produce audios for you. Then we will see. Okay. Let's finish the book first, and after that I'll take up listening skills also. Yes, now you please come to, we will take up this exercise. Yes, second exercise. Here are given a few words in the box, right? Now these very words describe Santosh Yadav. If you remember in that PPT, I had taken up word cloud, where I had used number of words. And that time I told you that you could pick the words to describe the people you are going to read about. Okay. So which of these words do you think can be used to describe Santosh Yadav?
Determined,
Okay.
independent,
Good.
adventurous,
Very good.
uh, patient,
Right.
considerate,
Very good.
polite,
Very good. Fine. That's all. Huh? Okay. When you say determined, how do you find her determined? Give reasons. Because suppose you are told to write about Santosh Yadav, you would say, I find Santosh Yadav a determined girl. As what? You have to give an evidence. Okay, I will begin. And the rest of these then you will do yourself. Okay. You would say, I find Santosh Yadav very determined, as she had already made up her mind not to follow the traditional way of life. And she did not. She would do what she had found reasonable. She wanted to study in a Delhi school, so she had convinced her parents and she studied in Delhi school. She was determined to join mountaineers a mountain expedition, right? And she did, and she had been successful. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now let us say polite. How do you say she is polite?
Polite.
Did she turn rebellious when the parents said that no, she would go to the village school?
No, ma'am.
No, she did not. Father said he would not pay the fee. How politely she had convinced her father that she would manage to pay her fee by working. Isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So she did not fight with the parents. She never fought with them. She had to struggle, but she did not fight. She did not turn rebellious. She never revolted, but very politely she had conveyed that she wanted it this way or that way. So here you can give example. She was polite, she was firm, determined, but polite. When the parents had refused to pay her fee, very politely she conveyed to the parents that she would work some part-time and she would manage to pay her fee. Right? Okay. How do you find her adventurous?
Ma'am, because when she want to study later, she did not have the aim for doing some to reach for the top, means to climb the Everest, Mount Everest.
Yes.
But later when she saw that the villagers go to the hills, Aravali hills, and then disappeared, she curious to know what is that. Then she joined the mountaineers and climbed the mountain.
Yes. Here simply, Anmol, you could say that Santosh Yadav was adventurous. That's why she had become a mountaineer. Because mountain climbing is an adventurous skill, right? Where one needed a lot of training. She was determined, she was physically strong and mentally also tough. And that's how she could become an adventurous person also. Is that clear?
Yes.
Right. And then you are right that when she had seen the mountaineers going to the hills, this definitely fascinated her. And she was so adventurous, she never thought of, she never took the time and she enrolled herself in Nehru's Institute of Mountaineering. Right? Okay. Considerate. How do you call her considerate?
You consider something?
For example, she was very considerate.
I can't identify it.
She was considerate in the sense, first of all, you see that how when she had seen one of her teammates needed oxygen, was short of oxygen, she was so considerate that she just forgot about herself and she shared her oxygen with Manmohan Singh, and then Manmohan Singh or Mohan Singh, who that fellow was, and then saved him. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
While climbing down, she had seen how the mountaineers, they had littered around. So she had picked up all that garbage, and 500 kilogram garbage she had carried with herself when she came down. So this was how she was considerate about the environment, right? Yes. Then you said she was independent. How do you call her independent?
Ma'am, when the parents refused to pay her fees,
Right.
she wasn't thought to go back to village
Right.
and marry with someone.
Yes.
She is independent. That's why she do part-time job and pay her fees.
Yes. She conveyed to the parents this thing, right?
Yes.
Yes. So you would say that she had an independent mind, how she had just refused to get married at the age of 16. She herself went to Delhi and enrolled herself in a school and conveyed to her parents that if they would not pay fee, she would manage by herself. This is one example. Another example is how when she found the mountaineering very lucrative, very attractive, she had enrolled herself in that institute. Without meeting the parents, she had joined the institute, but of course sent an apology to her father later on. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Patient. Do you find her patient?
Yes, and because when she went to the local school for study, she didn't aggressive on that because the brothers of Santosh Yadav went to the Delhi school, but she went to the local school for study.
Right. Right. So this is what you would say, that she did not get agitated. Right? She did not get agitated at this gender bias that was prevalent in the house. But when the brothers went to the Delhi school, she also followed them politely, quietly, and she enrolled herself in the school. She took admission, and she conveyed to the parents that no, she has no decision for marriage, but she wants to continue her studies. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Any other do you find? Apart from the words which are given in the box, any other word that you have in your mind?
I'm passionate.
She is passionate, right? Then here is another word, persevering, the last word. This also applies to Santosh Yadav. Perseverance meaning the continued effort, the one who keeps on making effort to do something, despite challenges, despite hardships, right? So she had made up her mind to study. She did not deter from her path. She just went quietly to Delhi, got admission, and conveyed to the parents. Right?
Yes,
when she
ma'am.
went for mountaineering, there also she worked hard. She kept on making continuous efforts that had brought her success, name, and fame. And within the same year, she had been twice for the expedition to Mount Everest, and thus became the first woman to scale Mount Everest for twice. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So any other word if you think you can use to describe Santosh Yadav?
Courageous.
Courageous, yes. She was very brave. And along with this, you can also say curious or inquisitive. You can note down this word. You are in class 9th, you must use this word now instead of curious. Inquisitive, INQUISITIVE. Inquisitive meaning the one who is exploring, the one who is eager to know what is happening. Right? So this was her inquisitiveness that took her from the hostel room of Kasturba Hostel to the Aravalli Hills, where she met the mountaineers. And then she got motivated and she made up her mind that she would go for mountaineering. And that's how she became a mountaineer. So this was actually her inquisitiveness that had led her to the doors of mountaineering. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Any other? Courageous, you said, that is right. You can say courageous, you can say brave, you can say daring. You can say daring. Such a daring woman all alone. She had been trying to revive her teammate who was dying in South Cole. You remember? However,
Yes,
she
ma'am.
could not save him. But how daring she was. She stayed there and she helped him. She could not. Then she turned to another fellow whom she gave her own oxygen to save him, and she could save him. So she was courageous, she was daring, she was strong-willed. She was strong-willed. Her willingness, she was very willing to do it. That's why she had been successful. Now, all these words you must remember, okay? So that if you get a biography, to write a biography of Santosh Yadav, or to describe Santosh Yadav, or give the character sketch of Santosh Yadav, or if you are told that what do you think would be the reason for Santosh to reach for the top, then all these qualities you have to give, but with examples. Is that
Okay.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So now tomorrow we will start with on killing a tree by G. Patel. Fine. Any
Okay.
doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Then goodbye. Yes.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Good day.
Take care.